2 years ago, I went to Lesvos in Greece. I was filming for a documentary. And before I continue, has anyone of you been to Greece, Chios, Lesvos, helping out refugees? Anyone? Hungry? I understand I have a mission here today, because you really should do something. Anyways, I was working on the documentary, and this was just in September, a couple of years ago, when it was probably when the most refugees came to Lesvos. And helping out as good as I could with the refugees, also doing the documentary. But while I was there, I met some amazing people. Ordinary people to some, but for me, some of the most amazing people I ever met. Just to give you a kind of a story on that, one of the guys, regular guy back home, collects his money, collects from his friends, taking his clothes, money, going down to Lesvos, with the only purpose of renting a car and drive sick, old, pregnant women up and down a hill, because they come in with a boat and there's a bus stop where they can be picked up. Probably 1 hour, very steep hill. So he did that for a month. That was the only thing he did. He just drove up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. And one night, because there's no place to sleep, so they just sleep on the ground, he drove an old lady, and the old lady, she had a hip injury or back injury, I can't remember, but he said, well, why don't you take the car and I'll just sleep on the ground? His hotel room was then empty because he just took the ground. 2 days later, same guy, another refugee coming in, soaking wet and freezing. It was night, had no clothes. What did the guy do? He just strips down to his trousers, hands him his clothes, and walking around in his trousers. So that's the kind of everyday Ubuntu that I'm going to talk about. So if I have any tech nerds here today thinking I'm going to talk about Ubuntu software, sorry to disappoint you, I'm going to talk about humanity. So the Ubuntu that I'm talking about, and it's an old African ancient name, Ubuntu. Nelson Mandela, he embodied this, and so Desmond Tutu spoke of it, but now it's the small things that I think you can do, the everyday Ubuntu. And I just love the word Ubuntu. Can you feel it? It's kind of a bubbly word with a small explosion. Ubuntu, time for action, small, tiny word. The whole concept of the everyday Ubuntu is quality of humanity. It's my life is good because your life is good. So if I can ensure your life, you can ensure someone else, it'll be a nice circle where everyone takes care of everyone. And I feel maybe today people are more into their own thing because it's a hectic life. Everybody's running around. Barely time to do a selfie. Or some has lots of time to do selfies, but still, it's hectic with all the selfies. And it's me, myself, and I. And if I don't take care of myself, no one else will take care of myself. So I have to do that. Well, anyone experienced that they've been told, you have to take care of yourself? Have you been told that? That's probably because you already think too much about yourself. You need to open up. So anyways, the Ubuntu concept. We have other cultures living in Norway. And the thing with the other cultures, they work in Norway, pay their taxes, and then they send money back to their family, knowing that if my family is okay back home, then I'm okay back here in Norway. So that's the typical spirit. We don't have that culture in Norway. What we do have, we have a culture for giving, at least once a year, or twice if someone comes at the door with some, so collecting money. We have a culture for doing favors. So we can do favors, and if you do a favor, you can get the favor back. That's more a currency. It's a feudal system. I want some bread, okay, give me that axe. So you just trade favors. We can help someone. But you can only help, you can't help too much, because if you help too much, then people will be suspicious. So you need only to help a bit. Don't be too kind, because then you have a hidden agenda. And the whole concept of helping will then fall apart because then there's no trust. You know, the trust is going away. And I noticed that before I was working also as a teacher, photography teacher. And being a teacher, I had some students. One of the students had some issues. So she dealt with the issues, cutting herself. And one day I get a text message, and it's a kind of a school where they live at the school, they live at campus. So one day I get a message, could you please come to my room? So I thought, okay, I'll come to your room. I had some bad feelings about it, but I thought, okay, let's see what's happening. She opened the door, and she was bleeding. She had cuts all over both arms. And I said, okay. So I stitched her up as good as I could. I have no practice in this before, but you do what you can. And I spoke with her afterwards why she did this, and she told me quite a few things. And I said, well, next time you are thinking about cutting yourself, instead of cutting yourself, couldn't you give me a call so we can try to have a chat? And if you like to cut yourself afterwards, well, then you have the choice of cutting yourself afterwards. But let's just have filter your thoughts before you cut yourself. 2 weeks later, Sunday morning, 3 in the morning, she called me and said, well, I am thinking about cutting myself. I don't feel too good right now. So we talked for 2 hours until 5 o'clock in the morning. She thanked me, no cutting, and she went on and, well, she was okay until a couple of days later. I came to school, because this was Sunday, I came to school Monday, spoke with the other teachers, because I had no experience with this, and I just spoke with them how they dealt with these kind of situations. And they said, well, Espen, you're doing too much. I was too kind. I was doing more than I should. So they said in their very good Norwegian, no, you had to put the foot down. So I thought, I should have put the foot down. But I thought, well, how can I put the foot down if she needs help? She's considering cutting herself, and I should put the foot down. I thought that was strange. And then, well, you don't know because you haven't been to Lesvos, you haven't helped the refugees, but coming back to Norway, you feel like you've done quite a good effort for people in need. So you come back to Norway and you tell, well, I spent my holiday, I used my money helping people, and then you realize that there's actually a Norwegian word for, not for Ubuntu, but for the concept, for the philosophy. Anyone in the audience know the Norwegian word for Ubuntu? Not? It's idiot. You idiot. Have you thrown away your money, you throw away your vacation to help refugees, and you are thinking about doing it again? Are you totally crazy? Best case, you are, as you say in Norway, dumsnill, which would be stupid but kind, stupid kind. Best case, but you are stupid. So my point in this speak is to, if we have people, I guess, even though you haven't been, helping refugees or helping, you might have done some volunteer work. And I'd like to encourage you to keep it up, although anyone else would think you're an idiot, because you are really not an idiot. There's just a concept of Ubuntu. And as long as you know the concept Ubuntu, everyday Ubuntu, help out people who is in need, somebody down the way might help you, instead of now, because everyone is too concerned about themselves. So you wouldn't get any help because I should have helped you, but I just have to think about myself. So that's the concept. Everyday Ubuntu. Help unselfishly. Give away your shirt if needed, and just be nice to everyone. I put the letters Ubuntu. I just played around with the letters in Ubuntu. And tried to make a package, a wrapping for Ubuntu in English, so that you perhaps better could take what it is. Understand and believe, unconditionally and naturally, being true and unselfish. Thank you so much for your time.